Welcome back to Death Racing. You're looking at my 22 Jeep Rubicon. Woohoo! I've had this thing. I ordered this thing new. I did it for a future build for the channel. We'll get to it at some point. But for now, I'm going to show you my Gorilla Glass that already cracked for no apparent reason. That was defrost on a cold day. Apparently, you're not supposed to do that with Gorilla Glass. Hopefully, they're going to cover that under warranty. But that's not what we're doing today. Today, we're going to put on 35s on this thing without doing a lift yet. We are going to lift this thing, but we're not going to so much lift it as do long arms and stuff on it later and put a better suspension on it. But we want to get rid of these, what look like Prius wheels on this thing. So we're going to replace them with these. Those are Method Racing wheels. They're 17 by 8.5 with 25 millimeter offset, positive offset. And then these are 35x12.5R17s. So I'm hoping that these will all fit after doing some careful calculations. I think that's our best chance of getting 35s on this thing, being able to flex it off-road and have it still fit. So very first thing, I want to make sure that all the components I got are going to be compatible. Making sure the lug nuts fit down the bore, making sure the tapers are right, and all that stuff. All that stuff can come back and haunt you. Here I'm showing you that the guy that didn't rotate his tires kind of screwed those tires up a little bit. Those are the factory tires. I never rotated them. It has about 25,000 miles on it, and those front tires look like it. I'm reusing all my TPMS sensors, which is going to add a little bit of time for me, but obviously those things can get a little pricey. Plus, I didn't want to have to learn how to reprogram them. If you even have to. A lot of the new cars, you don't have to. For balancing, we're going to be using balancing beads. I use Escos. Look at that. They're the best. That's because that's the only brand I've ever bought. They work good, and I've never tried anything else. So there might be other brands out there. These ones, when I dismount the tire, they're still beads. They're not turned to powder, because I have seen powder in there. Maybe I know that they used to put chalk bags and stuff in tires. In semi-truck tires, it seems like more. But anyway, I like balancing beads. They seem like they work really well on off-road and truck tires. I have never used them on a car tire. They may or may not work. And then obviously you want to go and put the right amount in. That's one of the situations where too much is actually counterproductive. In this situation, it's 6 ounces, which is 2 scoops of them. And if you use too much, it will basically permanently be out of balance because you'll have too much weight in there and won't have any place to go, and it'll create an unbalanced situation. So if you're going to err on the side of too little. Don't err on the side of too much. But it is nice. They continually balance the wheel as the tire wears out. You don't have to worry about knocking weights off and all that stuff. So it's really good for this type of situation. And I've never noticed a vibration from an out-of-balance tire once I started using that stuff. But on the contrary, with wheel weights, I have noticed as tires wear out, you get a vibration, rebalance them, and they're good. Especially with old school stuff like Super Swampers. Those things, every time you park it, the balance is different. And it was kind of on the on team don't balance Super Swampers because it's a waste of time. So that's kind of, and Super Swampers were always my go-to, but in reality, those things actually suck compared to everything you can get nowadays. So we're going to flex this thing out with my Badland jack here. That's actually a really good jack. I did a short on it. I'll put a link to it here so that you can check that review out. But that's actually a really good jack. I was blown away with how good that thing was. So far, it looks like everything's clearing. I don't see any issues. It's not flexed as it's not fully flexed. We're going to fully flex it here at the end. We'll do that in a real world scenario. But I wanted to make sure that I don't need to just backtrack and put the stock wheels back on if we had like an obvious issue or something so far. But it looks like for a daily driver and stuff, I don't think this would ever be an issue. That I could confirm with this jack. We're not close to anything. The closest thing is that sway bar mount. The shock mount there. That's the closest thing, and that's never going to change. That's always going to be in the exact same spot, no matter how you're flexed and everything else. Obviously, it changes when you turn, but I'm completely turned all the way right now on the locks. So the next thing I was worried about was the rock rail there. That's the factory rock rail, factory option rock rail. It's not even close, so I think we're good. I think we're good to go. Now I'm going to turn it all the way right, make sure we don't hit the sway bar. I don't suspect we're going to, but you never know. It might get kind of close to it. And it is pretty close, but we have a couple inches, and that is That one somewhat changes during flex, but for the most part, that's always going to be in the same spot. But as you flex it up, the center line, the mounted, frame-mounted side will get closer to the tire as it flexes. But it doesn't look like, even if it flexed more, that's going to be an issue. So I'm going to get the rest of these things on there, and then we'll work on the rear spare and see if the 35 will fit on the rear tailgate. All right, so once you're all done getting it all on there, you'll want to torque them. It's 130 pounds on this thing, which is big. They have big studs in them. They're 14 millimeter studs on these things. So these things are built pretty heavy duty, but they're also actually pretty heavy. So these are heavy rigs, heavier than you would imagine them being. Okay, so it did fit on the back. It does hit the bumper there. I'm going to call it a win. It's extra support for the tailgate. It already has some reinforcement and an extra support thing to keep it off the latch, the weight off the latch. But this is just additional weight off the latch and the hinges while you're driving the rig around, which is when the thing will be under its worst load. So I'm going to call that a win. It does fit, but for all of you, that might not be something you'll want to do. I don't have to lift the gate or anything to get it to shut. It does shut. It just squeaks. Okay, so what we're going to use to fix our speedometer and then potential future upgrades, and as well as eliminating some of the really annoying things about these Jeeps, is this Z Automotive Taser. This is the Taser JL, and that's just intended for this Jeep. They just plug in under the dash. It's not ODB2. It plugs into a different connector. And then it changes, you change all your settings and everything just from the cluster inside. It'll just have different menus on the inside there. So anyway, I've never done this before, so let's plug this thing in, and I don't have a printer down here, so I'll have to walk back and forth to my laptop for any further instructions, but. All right, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on this TZ thing, but or on the Taser. But the connector that I'm trying to go there, so this is just above the ODB2 connector, which you can see right there on the top of the screen, kind of dark. If you go straight up towards the seat of the structure there's two connectors. Those are the ones you're going to use. In the directions, it does say if you think the connector is too big, you're looking at the wrong one, because on the other side of that structure is a connector that looks similar, but it's bigger. So these are the directions. It's a PDF. I'm going to put a link, again, push more underneath the video, and there'll be a link to the directions. And I highly recommend you look at that link and look at the directions, because the use of this thing is exactly as functional as the directions read out. So if you read those directions, they are crazy confusing to you and really, really dumb. I think I'd look for a different option, because I don't know. They really need someone to go through their stuff. To me, it's just too clustery. It feels like you're hacking your system, which essentially you are. And it's just the user friendliness of it is not as good as it could be. I think they should make an app that you could put on your laptop that you plug into the USB cable right to the Taser, and do all your adjustments on the laptop, and just get rid of the EVIC cluster use. But that's my personal opinion. You can already go into their laptop app for the lighting show, which I'm showing you here. You can make all sorts of different lighting. The ones I'm showing you here, which you can just toggle through via your key fob, those things are all pre-programmed. I didn't change any of these. This is just the way they come. There's a lot of different options. I'm not sure how many. I think there's like 10 or something. But to turn them on, you press unlock, unlock, lock, unlock, and that starts the light show, and then you cycle through them just by continually pushing unlock. Every time you push unlock, it'll cycle to the next light show. And if you want it to stop, push lock, and it turns off. So it's pretty simple. It's kind of cool. It wasn't really a factor in me buying this thing. I wanted it for basically the tire change. I wanted to get rid of the horn honk when you leave the engine running and you get out with the key. It won't honk anymore. There's a bunch of features like that, but again, go look at the user manual. Don't look at their sales stuff, but look at the user manual, which is again in the link below. Go through that thing. You can see all the features and everything that you can adjust. And then you can also look at the there's a light version, or a light version that doesn't have quite as many options. And that may be good enough if you just want it for the tire size, gear change, transfer case gear ratio, and all that stuff. It'll work for that too. And the light version will work for that. It just won't have as many of the other features. But anyway, this one is not the light version. Either way, the use of them is the same. It also does a lot of cool stuff like line lock, hill stop, and that's all. It's all stuff that it's kind of cool. I don't know how much I'll use it. But it is what it is. So anyway, let's take this thing outside. Let's flex it and see if these tires are going to hit in a real world off-roading scenario. Let's see if we can get it to rub while it's articulated. This is about as articulated as it can get. Any farther and it just starts pulling the wheel off the ground. And this is pretty much as collapsed as it can get. And man, it is touching. We found a spot. So granted, that's just the factory plastic wheel well, but it does touch. That one's obviously drooped. It's tough to say. That's what's nice about having limit straps. You can look at limit strap and see where you're at. I'm pretty sure that shock's about fully extended though, which is its limit strap. Now let's look on the front. Crawl up here. Yeah. So it's not touching there, but it's really close. It is touching the wheel well right there. Let's go around the front and check out on the inside, but I don't want to try to crawl around it that way. Let's go up the hill this way. I don't think it's going to be hitting anywhere in here, but we might be able to get a good visual. So now look at the spring squished. Well, we're at 30-degree pitch. Let's see if we can get it steeper. I think it's going to get shallow here. 34, I think I saw. It's pretty steep. It doesn't feel like it's going to flip over backwards or anything. It does, my approach angle is being tested. I think I'm hitting the ground. All right, well, that was too much fun, so I'm going to go at it a couple more times just to see if it wants to crawl up it. I can't actually go all the way up the hill or I'll knock the fence over for the goats. So I don't want to do that, but I just kind of want to see if it'll make it up. Normally, this hill is really dry and powdery, and getting up it is almost impossible. But being that it's kind of wet out here, it actually is pretty close to just crawling up it with pretty minimal effort. So, which is kind of cool. I don't know, beforehand with the smaller tires, it actually drug the bumper on it. I couldn't actually even start going up it. And the little tracker can almost make it up it in the dry, but not quite. So I'm going to call it a win. What do you guys think? I've never bent a license plate before. Perfect.